Hello everyone, and welcome to game number 9 of the 2013 World Chess Championship match between Viswanathan Anand and Magnus Carlsen. Before we check out this very nice game, we do have a nice photo challenge. Congratulations to everyone from the previous photo challenge. Yes, of course, it was Boris Gelfand, but for this one it will be extremely difficult as this photo is extremely rare, and I don't think a lot of you may never have seen it. So best of luck to everyone. Who is the young boy here playing the black pieces? So best of luck once again to everyone, and now let's check out this game. Like we said, it's game 9 from the World Chess Championship match. So far, if you've seen the previous 8 videos, first 4 games were drawn, then Carlsen won 2 games in a row, and then another 2 games were drawn. So now Anand definitely needs a win. He has the white pieces, and in this game he will try a different approach. He will no longer go for e4 and face the Berlin and run into a wall. Rather, he will go for d4, and we will have a nice Nimzo-Indian game. So definitely a different approach, as if it doesn't work, don't repeat it like Kasparov did against Kramnik, as he bashed the Berlin over and over and over. So in this game, Anand opens with d4, as we've said. We have knight to f6, c4, and e6. Let me just fix that. So we have knight to c3 and now bishop to b4, the Nimzo-Indian defense, and f3. And already here, this is the Kmoch variation. You can see a nice tweet by Anish Giri. He says, a good start for the fans of Vichy. f3 is Anand's lucky move. So we have d5, a3, bishop captures on c3, b captures on c3, and now c5. C captures on d5, and now e captures on d5, transposing into the famous position of the Capablanca versus Botvinnik game. We have e3, and here Carlsen pushes c4, something you will not see very often, locking down the queen side like this, and allowing white to push for advantage on the king side, but also to gain great advantage in the center. More usual would be something like castling, and then after bishop to d3, b6, knight e2, bishop to a6, and white will castle, but it will always be easier for white to play this position. Here Carlsen plays c4, and it's important to say that Simon Agdestein was Carlsen's previous coach, and he was known to play this c4 move. So probably why Carlsen is prepared for it. We have knight to e2, knight to c6, and now g4. Anand now, as Carlsen closed the position on the queen side, is ready to expand on the king side. This knight is coming to g3. Later maybe it will come to h5, maybe to f5, who knows. Definitely a nice position, but here Nigel Short ruins it for everyone, as he posts this very nice tweet. Black is about 3 tempi up on the Georgiou Fischer game from Havana 1966. But that shouldn't worry Vichy too much. So Fischer basically already had this position with the black pieces, only Carlsen has the same position being up, as Short says, about 3 tempi. So not a bad position for black. So we have castles by Carlsen, bishop to g2, knight to a5, and here we have castles. Knight to b3, attacking the rook, rook to a2 by Anand, and now b5. Carlsen immediately expands on the queen side. It's interesting that the strongest idea here is actually h6, but h6, as strong as it is, it was already played. Judith Polgar played h6 against Garry Kasparov in 1977 in Tilburg, and after knight to g3, bishop to d7, queen to e1, rook to e8, Kasparov sacrificed a pawn with e4, and after e captures, f captures, and Polgar capturing on g4, Kasparov was down a pawn, but eventually Kasparov managed to win the game. So it's hard to say if Carlsen knew about this, so that's why he avoided h6, or he just found that b5 was better for some reason. Well, okay, regardless, knight to g3 by Anand, we have a5, g5, and knight to e8. e4, knight captures on c1, queen captures on c1, and now rook to a6. Carlsen decided to part with this strong knight and capture the bishop on c1 because he didn't want this bishop to come to e3. Then Anand would, Anand would keep the bishop pair, and he would have a very nice position. This way, Carlsen eliminates the threat of the bishop pair, and at some point he will be ready to push b4 and create a nice passed pawn on the queen side. Anand pushes with e5. We have knight to c7. Knight to c7, a wild move, as Carlsen completely leaves the king side. He is now completely ready to push on the queen side, and he says that Anand does not have enough pressure on the king side. But Anand thinks differently. He pushes f4, we have b4, and here Anand plays a captures on b4. He should have completely disregarded this b4 idea by Carlsen and continued with his attack with f5. And then after b3, rook a to f2, double up on the f file, and then push for advantage. Here Anand decided to exchange a pair of rooks. We have pawn captures, rook captures, knight captures, and now not worrying about this pawn, as you know, if you capture this one, then this becomes a pass pawn, so no reason to do something like this. Anand continues with the attack. He pushes f5. We have b3 by Carlsen, and here queen to f4. Queen to f4, Anand really spent a lot of time on this move, as there are so many things to calculate. Of course, the ideal position you want to find yourself in is f6. If black prevents this, then queen h6, queen h4, queen to h6, and then maybe threaten some queen g7 ideas. So Carlsen definitely has to bring the knight back into the defense. Anand does push f6, and here Carlsen pushes g6. And the g6, to be able to play this, you really have to calculate that white will not be able to checkmate you with this. As Carlsen could have played g captures on f6, but for some reason he decided that he doesn't have to. Because after knight h5, we have captures, and now after this check, king will move, and now after queen captures, black will have sufficient counterplay with rook to g8. Now you can't capture with the knight because the queen is hanging, and after queen captures, knight captures, and king captures, Anand would be out the exchange, but the passed b pawn will eventually win the game. So after this f6 move, Carlsen plays g6, and he will now prove that white is indeed unable to checkmate the black king. We have queen to h4, knight to e8, now defending the g7 square, and now Anand could go for knight e2 immediately, and perhaps he should have. After b2 and knight f4, piling up on the d5 pawn, queen to a5, going for c3, and also queen to a1, knight captures on d5 is coming. And then after bishop to e6, it would be a really double-edged position, but white would definitely have chances here. Instead, after this knight to e8 move, Anand has a different plan. He plays queen to h6. We have b2 by Carlsen, and here, now if you play knight to e2 with the same idea of knight f4, now queen a5 is coming. And after knight to f4, bishop blocks with bishop to e6. Knight captures, pawn captures, and now after bishop to h3, threatening bishop captures here, now queen to a6 will defend the pawn here. And after rook to b1, rook to f7 now blocks the pawn and completely defends. You cannot capture the pawn, as queen to a1 check will win the rook, so black would defend this position and all would be well. So here, after this b2 move by Carlsen, Anand plays what is considered to be the greatest move of this World Chess Championship match. Here Anand plays rook to f4. A great rook lift that allows Carlsen to bring another queen into the game. Carlsen does play this move, as there is no other move that would even allow black to play this game. So we have pawn to b1 promoting to a queen, and now you have to figure out how to defend this. The white king is in check, so there are a couple of ways you can prevent this check. You can go king to f2, although that's really not gonna do you any good, as you do have to win this game. Rook to f1 doesn't really make all that much sense, because white's plan is now rook to h4 and queen to h7 checkmate. So if white can get out of checks, then this checkmate will not be, Carlsen will not be able to avoid this checkmate. Let's see what happens if you block with bishop to d1. If you block with bishop to d1, then queen to d1 is the only defense. Rook to h4 and now queen to h5. This is the only maneuver you have. And after knight captures, pawn captures, rook captures, now queen to h7 will be checkmate, but Carlsen can defend with bishop to f5. And now the move you had to find to go for bishop to d1, bishop to f1 idea is g6. Only move that saves black is bishop captures, and then rook to g5 will pin the bishop, and h5 is now coming. Black can't move any of the pieces. Knight captures on f6 will have to happen at some point. So black will have to give up his extra material, and then it's hard to say if white can actually push this for a win. but definitely the best choice for Anand. After this queen b1 check, pawn to b1 promoting to a queen check would have been bishop to f1. But Anand finds an even better idea, and he plays knight to f1. Now his idea is that queen to d1, followed by rook to h4, queen to h5. Now he wanted to play rook captures on h5, and after pawn captures, now go knight e3, and now white is simply winning. Because now there's a threat against this pawn, knight captures, and knight e7 will win the game. So you do have to block this, but now bishop captures comes. And you cannot allow bishop captures bishop, so here you would either have to give up the queen and then you lose the game, or you play bishop captures and now comes knight to f5. And now there is nothing you can do here. Whatever you play, knight e7 check is coming, and now you either move the king and get checkmated, or instead you could capture and then you're even gonna lose this rook. So after you block checkmate, again you will lose this, and after queen d6, black has no compensation for the queen. So after this knight to f1 move, Anand thought that he has his first victory in the bag, but unfortunately he missed one move that Carlsen found. So here's the position. I welcome you to pause the video here and try to find the move that completely crushes Anand's idea. So I will give it a couple of seconds as usual. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations. You've just made life extremely difficult for Anand. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, here Carlsen played queen to e1. And now, after Anand saw this horror, he simply resigned the game immediately on move 28. So yeah, the idea of queen to e1 is now that the knight is no longer on g6. When you blocked with the bishop, then the knight was on g3, and queen e1 made no sense. But now that the knight is here, the queen is guarding h4, and now a rook h4 is nothing, simply queen captures. Queen captures, and now it's actually black that can play anything. There are no more threats here. Black's pawn structure is intact. There was no g captures on h5, ruining black's pawn structure. Knight is covering g7, so you will never be able to checkmate. And after you defend something, let's say this, and black is up a whole rook and has a completely winning position. So after queen to e1, the unfortunate move that Anand missed, Anand immediately resigned the game. So yeah, after nine games, Carlsen is now in the lead 6-3, and as the match was supposed to last 12 games, so now for Anand to even continue playing this match, he has to win all 3 games in a row to put the match into playoffs, into some rapid and blitz games. So yeah, here we have a photo from the press conference after game 9. They asked Anand what's his plan now. There are no more strategies left now. He simply has to win all 3 games in a row. And of course he responded that I'm definitely going to try and win 3 games in a row now, although it doesn't seem all that likely. But yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it and are enjoying the coverage so far. I would like to thank Farudin Jinic, Jonathan Farrell, Matthew Holmes, Stephen Green, and James Graham for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. I will make both of them from this World Chess Championship series. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon with another game from this nice match. So yeah, thank you all, and I'll see you soon, and best of luck in the photo challenge.